BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from NFL playoffs to pro, college basketball, UFC, MMA, and more. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. With live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. BetOnline is truly the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite leagues and events. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use that promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V, to receive your rewards. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts.
Tell them the noise make exception.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Fern Creek Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course, Mama Noise's name, Lloyd Smith. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
Good morning to you guys. We are recording live on a Thursday morning. So if you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, then you'll see this. You'll be like, oh, there they are. They're back. If you're on a podcast, you'll be like, I can't see anything. I'm listening to it. Not really an opportunity to see it. But it's better visually, in my opinion, because we're goofy and we're fun. So there you go.
You got on a nice shirt there.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep up, man. You put a lot of pressure on this show, bro. I tell you, put a lot of pressure on this show. I had to step my game up. So, good to see you guys. Good to see my brothers. The incomparable Mr. Everything now. He's got a new moniker, Mr. Everything, Kendrick Haskins, and he understands why he is being called that. He is doing everything. Literally.
Just call me Ace.
Ace. There you go, baby. There you go. And of course, we have our state championship coach who's trying to make another run at it. He's trying to become the Pat Riley of high school basketball.
Going for the repeat.
Going for the repeat, and it seems to be going well so far. So far, so good. They are locked in over at FSUS.
Yes. we're
Charlie Ward is his name.
Trying to get locked in.
They look pretty good, Charlie. The highlights that I've seen and the clips that I've seen, they look like they want it again. They look hungry, which is nice because that's a hard thing to do sometimes with young people going back to back to keep them hungry.
Yes, it's a challenge. Some people think it's easy, but just all the different challenges you face. I mean, you rather do what we're doing, of course, as opposed to being on the other side of losing a lot of games. But it's a fun group. They like each other. They have fun. We work to have fun and make it as enjoyable experience as possible. But as you know, the game always brings its own different challenges when it comes to playing time. How many points I score, how did I do during the course of the game. So, those are the challenges that you face. But outside of that, it's a good group. And all you want to ask for in life is a chance. And so we have a chance to be in the playoffs here shortly. Got a district tournament coming up not next week, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how it all shakes out.
Well, there you go. So we got a lot we want to discuss today, man. And some of it is inside the walls of the ACC, and some of it is not. Because these are some wise brothers, and I'm looking forward to getting their thoughts and opinions on a couple of different things that are outside of our particular area of coverage. But I woke up earlier this week, and in lieu of all the stuff that's going on in basketball season, this is the perfect time for a lot of the sports companies to drop their early mock draft. And so they all kind of, I don't know if they coordinate this or what, but it seems like everybody
coordinate.
Right. They feel like they coordinated and dropped their mock drafts all basically at the same time. And so it's been interesting because obviously we have some interest. We have some interest here of where our ACC kids are going. But then there's this interest period. It's an interesting draft. I mean, it's a weird draft to me because I don't know. Like I said last week about ACC basketball, I'm gonna say the same thing about this draft. I don't know what I'm looking at. Like, I know what I saw in college football, but I'm not 100% sure I know exactly what I'm looking at in this draft. So we're going to go through. This is just mock one, draft one for us. We're just looking at some of the things that's going on and some of the projections that are out there, and just kind of taking a look at some of the top, so-called top and most drafts. And as it relates to the ACC, every conversation starts and maybe possibly ends with the defensive end from Clemson, Miles Murphy. Everybody is looking at Miles Murphy as quote unquote the next big thing. And I'll be honest with you, Miles Murphy is wildly impressive to me as well. He's an interesting guy, but I don't know. He's one of those guys you look at and you watch him play and you say, okay, did I watch a dominant player play this year, or did I watch a good player beat up on bad teams? And so, I don't know what to think. I watch his mechanics, and his mechanics look great. Like, he gets to the ball well. He seems relatively relentless. He's got a great stat line. I mean, 45 tackles, 11 for loss, 6.5 sacks. That's pretty good. I just don't know. I mean, so I love to talk to you guys. Tell me what you think. Clemson's defense was basically the only thing that kept them like in it most games. So you got to give them some credit for that part. So
Their defense also was not very good.
The back end wasn't.
Right.
But I mean, I think his size, his long arms are going to be what GMs fall in love with because he's got those long arms. He can get around people.
Yeah,
and he can generate a lot of power behind him. So I think he'll fly up the draft board. He won't be on the draft board very long.
What do you think about him, Coach?
Just like Kendrick said, I mean he's a guy that the NFL kind of likes because he's a long defensive end, moves well, and so you need those type of guys. He'll probably put on a few more pounds to be able to bulk up a little bit, but I mean he's one of those guys that comes from Clemson. When you talk about the defensive end spot, he kind of fits the mold.
Yeah. Like even in this play that we're showing here, for those who can see us online, it wasn't so much that this was a great rush as much as it was really bad technique by the tackle. Like he's not really he's not shifting right. He's slow to the shift. Now the guy's fast. I'm not gonna take that from him, but it's not the greatest technique either. So you don't know. You just wonder, is this a great rusher or is he just now? It'll be interesting to see if he can do that at the next level. Then that's kind of it's kind of funny because I felt the same way, as weird as this is gonna sound. I felt the same way about when I watched Micah Parsons coming out of college. I said, I don't know if the Big Ten is just not very good or this guy really is the real deal. It turns out he's very much the real deal. So we may be looking at the same thing as it relates to Miles Murphy.
But you never know.
Right, you just don't know. Yeah,
but like just looking at it, it feels like he has the speed to get around somebody, and like I said, with those long arms, it feels like he can keep offensive linemen off of them.
Yeah,
and it's like it's the draft's a crapshoot, but
right.
I'd feel good drafting him. I mean, Dallas could use another pass rusher, to be honest.
Yeah, the other names on that people are talking about also on that same squad is of course Brian Breesy. Again, talented player.
Well, he had that torn ACL, so
right, and then that's the other thing. That I'm glad you said it. That's the other thing. I always get nervous when guys. I mean, ACLs are not the same like it used to be. Obviously, you can come back from an ACL and play at a relatively high level and have a pretty decent career. But it is a torn ACL.
But like his get off, I think, is what GMs are gonna learn about him. Just watching him, just these couple clips. I mean, his get off is so fast.
It's pretty nice. If you have, go ahead, Charlie.
He was to me, he was one of the difference makers on the defensive line. Mm-hmm. When he was out, it was hard to replace what he brought. Even though they did have other guys step up, some of the young guys step up in his place. But he brought that inside presence where he pushed the pocket. His quickness was definitely something that I'm sure GMs love. And, he kind of reminds me of a J.J. Watt type of guy, where he can be disruptive and cause double teams. And that's what you want as a defensive lineman.
Plus, you can move him around. You can see right there. Clemson moved him around all over the field. I mean, he's probably a type of where you take a couple pounds off of him and you can drop him back into coverage every now and then. They can play him kind of like Michael Parsons.
Not as fast. Right out of my mouth. Yeah,
it's not as fast as Michael Parsons, of course, but he's versatile enough. He's fast enough where you can just move him around all over the field, which I love that.
Yeah. I'll tell you the thing that impressed me the most about him. I love his center of gravity. He seems to stay stable. He's not easily moved one way or the other. And man, he shifts very well in that area, man. Right in that mid area, he shifts very well and adjusts very well. I'll be honest with you, man, and I guess it's gonna be based on your preference, as far as what you need as a squad. But man, he eats up that middle and allows you to send those whatever. Like if you already got edge rushers, he's the perfect person to eat up those run blocks and eat up that middle and shift out to defend the run. He kind of reminds you of the white version of Dexter Lawrence. Like he's like our guy. Like that's what Dexter does. He just swallows up that middle to where you can't run. And so I like the kid. I'll be honest with you. I think I'm a little more partial to him because of what his skill set brings. And like you said, kid, is the versatility of what he brings to the table. I'm really excited about his potential, man. And like I said, if he can shed about 15, 20 pounds and just kind of get a little lighter, he could be interesting, man.
And you also, I think he's back from the ACL, but not totally back. I think
no, he's not back. He doesn't trust it quite yet, but
another year and he'll be
right. But having said that, he looked great. He looked like a guy that could be a problem. So the other name that you're probably going to hear on as far as that area of the ball is Pittsburgh's Kalijah Cansey. He's interesting to me as well because he's got the dog you want, right? Which I like, but he doesn't have the size you want, I don't think. Like, I wonder about the size.
I want the guy that makes plays, and he's one.
You want the guy that makes plays, though.
Does that? Now he's a guy that you can move around. I think.
I was about to say the same thing.
He'll probably add a few more pounds on, but he's very quick, as you just saw. And I mean, the guy's always in the backfield. He's very disruptive. So when it's all said and done, I don't care what kind of size he has, man. I'm turning on the tape and I see what I see.
He just bowls over somebody.
I'm giving the man an opportunity.
He is a dog. He is an absolute unleashed pit bull. He just comes at you, and he keeps coming at you. Like he doesn't. I feel like his motor is like it's not a battery. I don't know if he's working off solar power or what, but he just keeps coming at you for the entire game.
But but like Charlie said too, you see him. They line him up all over the place.
Well, he's got impeccable footwork. He out of the three players, maybe he's the smartest. Like you see what he's doing, and you can see the game tape. You can see he understands his competitor. You can see that he understands. He's reading footwork. He's got some moves. Like he's not just out there freelancing. He's solid, man. I like the kid. Look at that. Look at that swim. You see what I'm saying? Like that's understanding your opponent. That's understanding what your opponent can and can't do.
Yeah, he's a bad.
He's got some dance moves, as you can see.
Yeah, he definitely has a motor too.
What do you think they'll give him a chance, despite not being quite as big? But see, I don't think Micah Parsons is big. I don't think Micah Parsons is a big dude. He's big, but not traditionally. You know what I'm saying? But a dog is a dog, man. It's hard to coach dog. Like you gotta.
I mean, it must have been a few of these plays you've shown where he's taken on two blockers and still gotten off and made the play. So obviously, his size doesn't prohibit him from being able to make plays.
Yeah,
the dude's good. So if I was going to draft someone and I needed that position, I would definitely look at him. You know, and wherever. I don't know about the first round, but
now wait a minute.
In the other rounds, I'm sure.
Not sure about the first round. You're not giving him necessarily a first round grade.
I mean, if I have other needs, is what I'm saying.
Got you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few other guys out there That probably
Right. We're
Right.
looking specifically in the ACC. So yeah,
Right.
I get it. I get it. Some other names to think about coming out just in our the place we love called the ACC. Josh Downs is coming out, right? That's, if I'm not mistaken, this is he's coming out, right?
I never know anymore.
I want to say now maybe he's changed his mind, but I thought I heard Josh Downs is coming out. We know Zay Flowers is coming out.
McShay has him on his first round board.
McShay does have him on the first round. You know what's funny? I watched. I looked at some of the guys they got coming down on that first. I'm trying to pull up the wide receiver listings. Because they have Quentin. The three that they have on most of these are Jackson Smith, Jigba is in the Jigba of Ohio State, Jordan Addison of USC, and Quentin Johnston. Although, like you said, on McShay's board, he's there. Here, this is what I was looking for. I got so many of these things up now. I'm trying to make sure I got them here. Yeah, McShay has Zay. He's far down there. He's down there quite.
He's down to the bottom. Yeah,
he's quite a ways.
Quentin Johnson is his highest rated receiver.
Right. Where's he at? He's late. He's very late, right? If I'm not mistaken.
He's second to last pick.
He's second to last. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so obviously I'm assuming that has everything to do with his 5'10" height. However, that hasn't stopped a lot of receivers in the past. And there's just I hate that Zay is being penalized for where he played. That's what it feels like to me. He's being penalized for where he played.
Well, somebody's going to get a good player, and hopefully he'll get a chance to go to a good team.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys out there like him that play the game, and he's very, very productive. So,
Devonta Smith is a prime example.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's a great example.
Right. And I think coming in, you put Zay in the slot coming in. Goodness gracious.
I think he'd be very successful. Yeah. I think he'd be very successful. Is there anybody else that you guys can think of that you feel like probably should be in the first, but maybe because of their team or because of whatever the circumstances might be, they're not going to be in that first, and they could end up being steals of the draft?
Well, it's kind of early in the draft process because they have all-star games coming up, or
right.
All these bowl games. All the games for showcase games, and you got the combine, you got pro day. So of course, we'll see some shuffling and all of that going on once all these processes get through. And some guys will look good because they're in shorts, and some, will look good, because they're in pads. And they may not have got an opportunity at their schools to showcase whatever they were able to showcase. So it just
Charlie, I got to stop you right there because I got to ask you this question because I'm old now. Forget. Where do you put your emphasis, on pads or shorts? As you evaluate talent, where do you put your emphasis at?
Well, first I'm looking at games, because I think, in college, I think that shows you a lot about a player, especially if you're interested in that player, and looking at the intangibles. Of course, arm talent as a quarterback is something that everybody looks at. But if the man can't throw the ball and hit his target or know where he's throwing the football, people say, I can fix that. Well, sometimes that is the case, and it may take like 3 or 4 years to make that happen. But sometimes, as we know, that's just not the case. And so, those are the type of what I mean by intangibles.
And sometimes you don't have 3 to 4 years to get them ready.
Correct.
Right, and the only way to fix the guy, as I have lived through this year, is to put somebody in the room with the guy that knows what they're doing. You could do as much damage not having the right guy in the room to help fix it as you can. And like I said, I've lived through this the last 4 years.
You think that's fixed?
I think it's a lot better than what it was, and I think it has the potential to get better. I do. I really do. I mean, I'm very impressed by what this 1 year has done. I'm shocked that it, because I'll be honest with you, in my mind, it was over. Like I was like, this kid can't be. First of all, he may not have ever had it, but as our illustrious owner said, we did everything we could to screw him up. So the fact that he's even here, where we're talking about Daniel Jones, for those who are wondering, but the fact that we're even here is miraculous to me. It's unbelievable. But the kid can play. I mean, you got to give him credit. He's way smarter than I thought he was, and way more talented than I thought he was.
Part of it for me is just a bias and a prejudice because I didn't like Gettleman.
I hate Gettleman.
And I don't want Gettleman to be right. So that's why I want Daniel Jones to be bad. But he's right about Daniel Jones.
He's been right about both. Like he nailed both. But I don't know if that was a hard thing to nail either. Like,
well, the Daniel
Saquon
Jones
was easy.
Yeah, Saquon's a no-brainer, but Daniel Jones that's a tough one. You have to
the
give him
Daniel Jones
credit
thing seems to be working out. But anyway, to your point, Charlie, I think I agree 100%, man. So we can expand out the conversation now because I think we've kind of exhausted all of our ACC guys, at least the first rounders right now. We got months to be doing these evaluations, so we got time. But the one thing that keeps shocking me on everybody's board, and this is not hate. I'm just saying, based on what Charlie just said, you watch film and tape. Number one, I don't know how CJ Stroud is not the guy in my mind. Like that, of all the guys that I've watched, that looks like the guy. With all due respect to Bryce Young, but man, Bryce Young to me is Kyler Murray. Like, we've already seen Bryce Young. We've already seen what that's going to become. Do you really want to have a guy? Like, he's super talented. You can't take that away from the kid. But, my God, he's so small. And at some point, that level of small matters.
But you can put on muscle. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson's body now compared to when he first came into the league.
Yeah, but you can't put on height, though. Like, you can't put.
It's not like he's not Kyler Murray small though. I mean,
no, he's not Kyler Murray small, but
you've seen him. You've been eye to eye with him. How tall is Bryce?
He's smaller than I am, but I'm not going to. Of course, I'm not the one to be talking about small quarterbacks not being productive.
Flex. That felt like a flex, but I'm gonna let you have that when it was smooth.
All I know is this: when you turn the tape on,
he looks good.
He gets as many balls batted as everybody else, and he throws dimes. You look at the bowl game just this year. Just in that game alone, he was throwing dimes in the corner of the end zone, putting guys in stride.
Yeah.
His anticipation, his understanding of throws, those are the things that's what I mean by intangibles. He knows where to go to football, and he puts the ball in great places where guys can catch it. And so when you start looking at the things that he can't control, which is how tall he is,
right?
But he can put on the arm strength and all those, he can do all that through, work. But I just think you have to look at, and CJ Stroud is not, I'm not saying he's bad either. I mean, he's good as well. I mean, we saw what he did against Georgia. And so I just think those two guys are guys that you definitely have to look at. And when you start choosing quarterbacks as rookies, you never know.
Yeah.
But I do know that those guys have played at the highest level. And that's played against guys very, very similar to what the NFL is like. And so it's not like they were throwing and playing against, mediocre teams.
Yeah.
And so they were getting it done. with big defensive linemen in front of him, big offensive linemen in front of him, and when it's all said and done, as a quarterback, you got to be able to find windows, and your timing has to be impeccable. And if you don't have that, then you need to be able to move around and make the necessary throws on the run, a la what's my man Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
I like C.J. Stroud a lot. I
do too.
I think people were holding his running ability back against him because he just didn't run. But obviously, the kid can run. I mean, the kid was making plays against Georgia all up and down the field with his legs and his arms.
But
to me, he's the one I have the most confidence in.
But the irony of that is that you don't have to do that. Like, listen, you got your Patrick Mahomes who will run from time to time, whatever. But then you got your Joe Burrow who doesn't run at all. And like and you can be effective with both. I don't know why. I understand that the edge rusher is way faster than he's ever been, but that doesn't mean you can't have a pocket passer anymore. I don't understand why we've fallen in love with the athlete so much. I get it. But it's okay to have a pocket passer too. If the guy's got great mobility in the pocket, it can maneuver the pocket and move it around.
That's why I like him so much, because he can run. It's not like he's not a statue back there. But he can place the ball where it needs to be. He can make all the throws. He can be that pocket passer that the old school GMs want, but he can also. But if he has to run, he can tuck the ball and take off. And so I'm really high on C.J. Stroud.
Well, the reason why I brought these two into the conversation because there's a third quarterback projected in the first round of everybody's mock board. It's shocking to me, but he on tape, like what Charlie says, he likes to see it. What I like to see, I think Kendrick would agree as well. I didn't see it, but in shorts, this guy may end up being the number one pick in the draft. Will Levis.
He's gonna wow. He's gonna wow when he shows up. He's big. Will, I think
6'3", 232.
Yeah, he's big. He's got a big arm. He's competitive. He can run. They're going to compare him to Josh Allen. He's not just Josh Allen. I don't even think he's as big as Josh Allen, to be honest. But he's a competitor, though. Will is a competitor, and he's gonna wow them in the interview section. He knows the game. Right. I do think last year was hard for him because the offensive line was like historically bad.
Right, they were bad.
So, but he had some weapons, and like his weapons, as good as they were very good weapons. They're freshmen and sophomores. And so, he had a lot stacked against him this year. I do think that he's a little overrated, but I think he can. I can see him being a first round pick. I just can't see him being the first quarterback pick.
I'll just say this, and then Charlie, you're the real quarterback of this group, so I would love to hear your evaluation. I just know what I saw. And while all of those things you just said are true, the other thing that is also true is that those great throws that you see him doing shorts were not always done on the football field. And some of those things were missed timing. Some of it was I didn't make the right read. Some of it I'm holding the ball too long. So
he does have if there's a big knock on him, it's sometimes he does hold the ball too long, especially with as god awful as that offensive line was this year.
Right. So I'm saying I don't know. And the reason why that's relevant is because you're not going to go to a team probably that has a great offensive line. So if you already have that in you in a college team, it's not going to go away in 1 year. It's not even 1 year. We're talking about 3 months. So you're not going to lose that mentality just in 3 months. I don't know. It's to me, he's a gamble, but again, he's going to go first round because the intangibles from the other way are there, and they're going to. Some GM's going to be like, I can, like you said, I can fix it. I can turn him around. I can make him better. I don't know. You are a quarterback extraordinaire, Charlie. What do you think?
I'm not sure about the extraordinaire, but
you have a Heisman Trophy.
I think it's it's safe to say that you have to evaluate all of it, as I talked about earlier. Because if you put the tape on and then you put the shorts and guys run around in t-shirts, shorts and t-shirts, and they both are in the same ballpark. Like the tape is what it is, and he's that, and then you put him in shorts and t-shirts, and he's still that part. Now you add those two together, and also he understands offense. All those interview processes that they go through. Then that's when you start talking about the type of player you have. But when one is inconsistent, and then you have another portion that you see as consistent, and you have 2 out of 3 of the interview segment as far as them understanding offense and that whole deal, because that's knowledge-based stuff. Now you're looking at how can I fix the part that's inconsistent. But if there's 2 out of the 3 that's the opposite, then you need to move them on down the board, because that's something that's going to be hard to fix quickly, because you may not have the time to do it. And it depends on your culture as well, on your team, especially if you're talking about the quarterback being the face of the team and you're going to be dependent on him. But if he can come in and learn, say behind like a veteran early on, and he doesn't have to play like my man Lawrence. I'm drawing a blank on the first name, but at Jacksonville,
like Trevor,
Trevor Lawrence. You have to play like that guy and play like him early. Then I would take a chance on it. Levis, if I have a veteran in front of him to try to help him sit while he can learn from that guy.
Because last year, I was just looking up his stats. Last year, he accounted for 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. It didn't have his fumble stats. I don't know how many times he fumbled. But again, that offensive line last year was historically bad.
It was. It was really bad. Yeah.
So that played a lot into it. And so you going by the year before, where the year before he had Wandale Robinson and he had Liam Cohen was his offensive coordinator. So how much of it was that? So it's a lot of to me, he's the biggest mystery in the draft.
If you had to guess today, and again, this is our way too early mock one draft one conversation, because I've been hearing a lot of weird conversations about quarterback as it relates to Chicago. People have been floating out the idea of maybe you take Justin Fields, package him up, send him off somewhere, and go get a bunch of picks and whatever, and take either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. And I'm like, why would you do that? Justin Fields could possibly be a generational talent, equal to maybe a Lamar Jackson, maybe a better throwing Lamar Jackson. So I don't understand why you would do that. But where would you see some of these guys going? Because Chicago, to me, has their quarterback. The Texans need one. The Colts for sure need one. I even heard some people saying Geno might not be the answer in Seattle, although I don't know what else he can do to prove himself, because he looked good to me.
Well, Geno, he falls under. We can go out and get another quarterback under the rookie scale.
You
can get a rookie quarterback, and you can fill in the holes on, because you got more issues than quarterback at Seattle. And so I think that's where that falls. They may pay. I wouldn't be surprised if they paid him, but if they didn't, I'm thinking it's more of that than it is anything he did on the field.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Charlie? That's interesting.
It depends on your needs, on what you need, because having another quarterback on the roster, you could probably get a backup guy later, or second or third round, or later, even later than that. That can be serviceable to where you can put him behind Geno so he can learn a couple of years or whatever, a couple of years from now. and be the guy that you develop. And so sometimes we get so enamored with the quarterback position and, saying how many we have. And some teams need good quality quarterbacks, but there are some guys that you can choose later in the draft that can give you, kind of what you want or need behind a veteran guy.
Well, with just the way the pay scale is now, though, that's like because they're gonna have to pay for Geno now. It's not gonna be
right.
So. But I mean, what you're trying to say makes 100% sense. It's just I don't know if they'll do it because, like I said, they're either going to pay Geno or they're just going to tear it down, go get a young quarterback, and be able to build with the salary cap room with the rookie scale quarterback. That's the trend in the league right now. Is get a quarterback on his rookie contract and you can build up around him. That's what the Bengals did.
Well, that was what the Bills GM was saying yesterday. They were asking him that question: how did Cincinnati kind of leapfrog you? And he said, "Well, they got a kid on a rookie. He's still on his rookie deal, so they got money to burn."
I mean,
and
go all the way back to Seattle with Russell Wilson when he was on his rookie deal. They built up the Legion of Boom, and you had Marshawn Lynch.
It makes you feel like there's a window, a small window that you can function in to make that run if you can hit on quarterback.
You gotta look at. I mean, at the way it is now, a young quarterback coming into the league, if you're not one of the elite, your time frame is about as short as a running back's career.
It is.
Because what was the Rosen from UCLA? He came in, and I think he's like a third string quarterback somewhere in the league. And Josh Rosen.
I don't know. Is he still in the league?
He's still in the league because they was joking about it on Levitar the other day. But
juxtapose that also to what the 49ers situation is now. They literally have Mr. Irrelevant and leading them in the NFC Championship game this Sunday. And by the way, I'm not 100% sure he hadn't locked it down. Like if he gets to the Super Bowl, that's it. Trey Lance is probably gone.
So I'll present this to you, two fine gentlemen. Say he leads them to the Super Bowl, they don't win it, or even if they lose this weekend, do you ride it out with him on that rookie scale contract? He's even lower than most rookie scale quarterbacks, or if you have the chance, do you get Brady or Rodgers?
Hold on.
I'll let you go first.
First off, why do we still think Tom Brady can still play?
I don't.
Look at his stats.
I do not.
His stats this year. I mean, his stats were fine. I'm done with him, but I mean,
his play was not fine though.
But he also had a terrible team around him too.
Yeah,
but that's happened before. If we're going to give him credit for having terrible teams around him and he's elevated teams, he's not at that place right now. And there are guys, they have a quarterback, a young one. Continue to invest in that guy because apparently the coaching and the system and the culture at San Francisco is vibrant because they've gotten to this point with two quarterbacks going down in the same season. And they got a guy they brought in that's the last pick of the draft that's actually getting it done. They went out and got some pieces, McCaffrey being one. Then they had some other guys there already. And that's just
Kittle and Ayuk, yeah.
And that just shows you the culture that you have there at San Francisco. And they're getting to where they want to get to without having to cast out, any of their future. Mm-hmm. Because when you start talking about bringing in Tom Brady or even Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers probably has a couple more years more than Tom Brady. I don't see Tom Brady having but possibly one more year left. Mm-hmm. And so I
totally agree with you.
Some people may say, well, that's all we need. But I think if you can get to the same place with a younger guy that you can invest in long term, then do it.
I think Tom Brady's done. The last game that I saw.
So
now
take Brady off.
He won't leave.
He won't leave. So take Brady off. Take Brady off the table. Then would you, if you had a shot to bring in Aaron Rodgers, if you're San Francisco, do you take that shot?
Again, I'm gonna have to side with Charlie. I think you're there. Like you're there. You know what I'm saying? This is a terrible analogy, but it's actually a really good analogy. If I've already cooked the gourmet meal, and the only thing I'm worried about is the one sauce that we think will make it better, I'm if I was able to cook the gourmet meal, I'm probably able to elevate the sauce too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to go spend $1,000 on, a bunch of money on something that I don't need. $50 million is a lot of money to spend on 1 year.
Who do you think he got? Chelsea Clinton?
Right. Who do you think he got? Exactly. So I just think if Purdy got you there, I would. You know what I would do? I would spend that money on offensive line depth because that's the only thing you need. Like, just keep these guys off of him and let him cook.
I agree with you all wholeheartedly. I'm just presenting the thing.
But that's the conversation,
right? Yeah, that's the conversation that's going to be had in those offices.
But to that same point that you just made, that's also the conversation that a lot of people are saying with Chicago. They're saying Justin Fields has proven himself, so why pay him?
But the thing
why not get another rookie in there?
Yeah, but then by that,
if the talents are equal,
the Bears are the type of organization that would keep doing that. That's why they're the Bears. But I'm like, you've got a generational talent who is still on his rookie contract.
I'm not saying I agree, Charlie. I'm just saying that has been floated out in more than one occasion by more than one of these expert broadcasts.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that's why the bad teams stay bad because they keep trying to fix things that instead of just being patient and working through and finding other ways like other teams have been able to do, because that's been the kicker here lately. The teams that have been successful with young quarterbacks, like Kendra's been talking about, is they mostly been on their rookie contracts, and you can go and get money and spend your money elsewhere until you get to Baltimore. Not that he's on his rookie contract, but when it's time to pay him, now you're trying to figure out, how can we keep this guy? How can we keep that guy? Because we're having to pay the quarterback $250 million. And next thing you know, your defense starts degenerating. I'm saying that wrong. But they start going down, and you start losing players because you can't pay them, and so now you leave the quarterback with no talent.
I was sitting thinking about the word you were looking for. I was like, what is the word you're looking for there? I think it's disintegrate. I think that's the word we were looking for.
Disintegrate.
I couldn't remember what it was either, bro. So I was sitting there like, what is that word?
I was trying to think of it too.
Disintegrate.
It wasn't just you. It wasn't just you, Charlie. It wasn't just you. We'll go down as a show together. But you're right.
I'm experiencing that right now with my Cowboys. I mean, Zeke's probably going to be gone. They lost Amari Cooper last year. They lost Cedric Wilson last year. I mean, lost a ton of players, lost some offensive linemen, and you got what you got. But you have Dak for forever.
See, this would be me. Now, I'm not talking about nobody else.
Yeah.
I'm talking, this would be me. If I understand the market 100%, I understand the market 100%. I totally got to get mine and the whole nine. I totally get all that. And I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about somebody else. If I knew that I could make $50 million a year, or or 30 million, and 20 million goes towards some other players. And of course, we got to have the guarantee and all that. I'm saying all that. I would take the 30 million guarantee per year for 4 years if they would go out and use the extra money to help whatever, as opposed to taking the 50 million. And now I'm losing offensive linemen, as we just talked about. I'm losing receivers. I'm losing defensive help, because at some point, like I said, I understand the market and the whole nine, but I'm also understanding how can we be successful and keep ourselves in this game, because the one player that gets paid the most is the quarterback, and it throws everything off, because you see now, I don't know who it was, somebody's restructuring their deal. It might have been Aaron Rodgers.
He said he's talking about it, but I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
Yeah,
but he may be restructuring because he wants to get out of there, not necessarily because he's trying to make it palatable for the Packers. But it's interesting that you said that, Charlie, because that is the conversations now that are coming out of New York as relates to Daniel Jones and Saquon. They're both saying, and Saquon has been very public about it. He's like, I'm not trying to reset. He said, that's for somebody else. I know my situation. I know what I'm coming back off of, and I don't need to try to reset the market right now. I need to do a deal that makes sense for right now so that we can keep doing what we're doing. Because here's the other side of it. You go to the Super Bowl and you win, you'll get your money. That's just how it is. Like they're gonna Joe Flacco you, right? That's how it works. So, I mean, I'm just saying, Joe Flacco got there, he got his money, and was never heard from again. So there's a path to it if you're willing to be patient. And I get it, because everybody's like, well, but that patience thing ain't promised to me. None of it's promised to you, but
I hate to be I can see both sides of the coin.
I can, absolutely.
But like my thing is like, because Brady always is less, but Mahomes' deal, I don't understand why more teams don't do his deal. Where he's got this outlandish deal, but it's still team friendly because it's so long. It's such a long contract that he's getting what, $210 million, however much money Mahomes is getting, but it's spread out so far where they still have cap room to make other moves. I don't understand why more teams don't go that route.
I can answer that one. Because you don't know if you got your guy for real, and if you don't know, you can't. Like, they know they got their guy. He ain't. Right. Chances are his skills are not going to diminish that much over the next decade. But like with us, we think we got our guy. It looks like we got our guy, but we don't know. Like, we still really don't know. So the best deal would probably be something that's 4 years or 2 years or 3 years, with like somewhere in the 35 mil range or whatever, and you got an option on the last year. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that way you're not locked in, and then you can renegotiate again and give him an extension or whatever. But if you don't know you got your guy, man, you can set your franchise back forever. Like, but right now, Cleveland looks crazy because
that makes sense on your end. Everything you said makes total sense on your end. But like, my thing with Baltimore is, okay, it feels like you're saying you don't know if Lamar's your guy, but your whole team is built around Lamar. So which is it?
but that's exactly, both of the things you said are true. They don't know if they have their guy. And listen, injuries are a part of the game. It's just part of it. And the truth of it is, he's been injured the last 3 years going into your playoffs. And it's not completely his fault, because he's being asked to do everything. Mm-hmm. So that raises the level of opportunity for injury just on what you asked him to do alone.
But when he's gotten hurt, though, he's gotten hurt in the pocket. He hadn't gotten hurt.
Right. It's not because he's running. Right. It's not because he's running.
That's when they make that argument. Oh, the way he plays, he hadn't gotten hurt when he's been running the ball. He's gotten hurt in the pocket. This last injury came on a sack. I mean,
yeah, they made that situation far worse than it had to be. If I'm being honest with you, I think if they would have guaranteed
if they'd have
the money,
because like they offered him the big contract, but so little of it was guaranteed.
that was the problem.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
It's not the contract. Money.
Yeah.
It's the guarantees, and that's where the hang up is. And so if you're Baltimore, because like the Jets are a quarterback away.
Lamar in New York would be the two teams that really jump off the pages for me is the Jets, him with the Jets and him with Atlanta. I just think it with what Atlanta has, Jesus, he would be.
Yeah,
they'd be hard to beat. They'd be hard to beat.
But I mean, I can see Atlanta saying we like Desmond Ridder and he's on a rookie contract, and they can build around him.
But maybe Lamar's willing to take that Patrick Mahomes deal, like you just talked about, and now they got their guy for the next decade. They don't have to worry about that no more.
I mean, I can see Atlanta working. Atlanta, the Jets. I mean, the Colts. The Colts have
the Jets haven't had a solid quarterback since Charlie was a Nick.
Who they have then?
Benny
Testaverde.
So the answer
Benny
is
Testaverde, right?
I mean, if the Colts can get the right coach in there, they've got parts. They got pieces there, and that makes sense for me too. Tennessee makes sense.
Well, both of those make sense. Oh my God, Tennessee, Lord have mercy.
Well, Tennessee, they got Tannehill who's injured, but they don't. Their system is broken. So I mean, them getting rid of their OC was probably something that they needed to do because their system is very broken.
Well, they never should have let AJ Brown walk out the door. That's where it starts.
Can I be honest? By the way, let me just say this. I'm making a true confession here. When the AJ Brown deal went down, I did not think that was that big of a deal. I was like, well, okay, he's not. I mean, I hadn't seen him do anything in Tennessee. He is literally, with every game, reinforcing just how bad Ryan Tannehill is. Like, I'm saying, bro, you couldn't pass it. This dude is always open. Like, he's really good. He is really good.
But to their defense, I mean, it helps to have other players on the team.
They do.
That take some coverage away.
Yeah.
Which leaves you, open. When you got Devontae
Smith
on your team, and then you got your tight end.
Dallas Goedert. Yeah.
And so when you start
having a running game too.
So when you have all these things, and this is the thing that I keep trying to tell people all the time, whether it's football, basketball, any team sport, when you have more options than just one main guy, it makes your offense, especially offense, so much better because they can't key on just one guy. And if they do want to key on that one guy, then you have other guys to be able to step up. And so I just think, and I think that's the biggest thing, the difference between, getting a main guy off of where he's like the focal point of the offense, especially the passing game, and put him on an offense where there's balance, where you have multiple guys, then those guys can eat. I mean, they start cooking all the time.
Yeah.
And so I just think balance and is always important as opposed to having, your one standout and then everybody knows, okay, that's where the ball is going. Or, we got to stop him. When we stop him, then they can't function. But that's not the case in Philly.
Well, before we get to some predictions here, I do want to just real quick talk about some other stuff. And this was an incredible weekend as far as wild things going on in the world of sports. I just want to get your guys' quick thoughts on the whole, because it's in your backyard, Charlie. So I gotta ask you your thoughts, quick thoughts on the Bethune-Cookman situation. That to me is about as wild a situation as we've had in quite some time. But what are your quick thoughts about all of that? With
Well, my first thought was I can understand the frustration
Mhm.
from Ed. He didn't go about it the right way out, I don't think. I know he did. By putting, going on and just having this rant about what they don't have and the stuff that, putting that out there. There are other ways to do that. But what he said in his press or his last words to his parents and team was 100% accurate, because he's not, of course, not going to sugarcoat anything. And this is an opportunity for us to hear what goes on behind closed doors sometimes. And he just brought it to light.
Yeah,
And I just think it is when you have administration that's looking to make shortcuts or take shortcuts. That is what you get. You get instability, you get mismanagement,
Mm-hmm.
you get a lot of different things that you start to see in those schools. And it's not just the HBCUs; it's all schools that are mismanaged, that have poor leadership, instability. And so, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean, and you start throwing money all over the place, doesn't mean that you have stability. But there, I just know it's. I mean, like I have one of my former players who attends there. He's like, "Hey, this is just what happens." you
Right.
know,
wow, wow,
I
wow,
mean, this is just what happens
wow.
here. And so I, it's just unfortunate because I think Ed had the right heart
Yeah.
and the right mindset and attitude to be there,
Yeah,
and he was willing to make changes. But I don't think they were ready for him to do what he did. And but they knew, and he knew going in that the challenges that they had, and they knew what they were going to get because, like I said, sometimes when I was up at night, like at 1:30, man, there's Ed Reed live on Instagram, smoking a cigar, talking
right.
about
Frustrated.
something.
Right, right.
No, this is before he took the job. I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
about just in general.
Yeah.
And so he was live like a lot, 1:30 in the morning in his room. I mean,
Oh, wow.
in a dark room playing music. And so, and just talking.
I gotta start
And
following
so,
it.
it's just that is who you're getting. And you got to understand and know that. And Ed knew what he was getting into when he took the job. So
Right.
he should have just what should have come out was what he was doing with the players in the community picking up trash. That should have been the the overriding thought process and leave the others rant, you know, as far as what they didn't have and cursing and carrying on. If he would have had that, I think they would have at least worked worked with him
Hmm.
because they're not going to get a football whatever he was looking for like ASAP. It was going to
Right.
have to be some time to be able to take take advantage of what he wanted, but it was going to take some time to get that done when it came down to some of the bigger things he wanted to have. But I mean, the man said they didn't have a practice field, and that's the kind of stuff. I mean, high schools have to deal with.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Kenny, what are you thinking, man?
It feels like he should have known all that beforehand. But maybe he did. He was trying to work with them. It's just a bad situation all the way around. I think, like Charlie said, I think they weren't ready for him because he's it's a whole new world. You look at it from the HBCU side of things. it's a whole new world for them. They're not used to having this much attention. They're not used to having a high profile guy coming in to lead their football programs. And so it's an adjustment there because it's always going to be some pushback. And it's probably some people. I don't know for certain, but just imagining just through living life that there's probably some people within Bethune-Cookman who wasn't a big supporter of Ed Reed from the get-go. And it's probably some people that's like, we need to be more focused on academics and athletics within the program. And so I think they just weren't ready for Ed Reed. And I love Ed Reed. I love everything about Ed Reed.
Big fan, yeah.
But this might be some stuff he needs to like kind of chill out on if he wants to be a head coach and be the face of a program. And so that to me, I don't want to totally absolve Ed Reed of everything either.
Yeah. No, Ed's an emotional guy, and the thing you love about Ed. And really all of those old Ravens players like Ray Lewis and all those guys that they played with so much passion. They love the game. Mm-hmm. And so that's what you were hiring.
Right.
You were saying, here's a guy to come and reinvigorate our program, bring a life to it that it's never had before, and really take it to the next level. But you got to understand what comes along with that passion.
Right.
You're looking at the surface and you're not seeing, this guy came out of Miami. Which is like one of the gold standards programs historically. It's a blue blood. So his concept of what it should look like is completely skewed. Right. So Bethune-Cookman ain't Miami. It ain't even Miami of Ohio.
I don't know. Bethune-Cookman might have been Miami. But Bethune-Cookman may have been Miami when Ed was there. It wasn't like they had the greatest facilities either.
Well, but they were willing to spend though.
Now,
maybe not legally, but they were willing to spend. But I look at this thing. I hate that Ed went on the rant, but at the same time, I get it because I grew up around HBCUs, so I know kind of what goes on, and it's there's a conversation that we don't want to have about HBCUs because it requires us to talk about some things that we're wildly uncomfortable talking about, which is the underfunding, like you said, Charlie, the gross mismanagement. Mismanagement is an understatement. It's a lot of things that we don't want to talk about, and that's what Dion was struggling with as well, because he's like, bro, some of the stuff y'all got going here don't make sense. Right. But it makes sense to the people that benefit from it. So again, HBCU fixing requires a lot more than what I think we're willing to have a conversation and talk about. So I hate that Ed did it, but there is an old saying in business: if it starts bad, it's going to end worse. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was better that we ended
it now. At least they got it over with now before any more damage could be done.
Because it was going to end bad. It was going. If it started out like this, it was going to end real bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in that situation before, where you have the right heart for where you are, and you want to do a lot of different things, and your superior may not have the same. You may not be on the same wavelength when it comes to certain things.
Right.
And at some point, if you're not on the same page with the athletic director as a head of any sport, it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do as much as you want to try to do outside of the boss, but it's hard.
Yeah.
When you're having to try to do everything. I mean, my man, and that's what it seemed like Ed was doing with the little time. The man wasn't even on contract, and he was taking money out of his own pocket to help support the football program, and probably do some other stuff, like bringing in people to clean up and all the things that we heard him talk about. Using his resources to be able to help his program. Like I said, I felt that. I mean, because I've been in that situation before, and that's when Tanja was like, "Hey, it's time to go." like this is just not, it's not
going
to.
We say, Charlie, we took this as a job, not volunteer work. That's a different thing.
So, because my last year at a Booker T, I put a lot of things in place for the next season. People I was trying to bring in, and the team, all the things that we were getting ready to do for the spring. And it just got to a point where we just weren't seeing eye to eye on a lot of different things. And it became really, really stressful. And that's when, I was like, hey, I think it's time for us to move on.
Yeah.
But my heart was very similar to Ed's, where I had poured in a lot for that season coming up, and to see it kind of go down the drain, it's very disheartening. But God opened up another door. Of course, that's where I am today, and so I'm grateful for all those experiences. But I felt some of Ed's pain, but his rants. The first rant was off.
It was a little much. It was a little much.
It was a little much.
And the second rant was kind of off, but it was true. And that's true. What, as a journalist, that's what everybody wants to hear. Like, what is going on behind closed doors?
Right.
And those are good stories. And he was willing to kind of put us behind the curtain.
Yeah. All right, well, we definitely had to deal with that one. I won't even get into the Uncle Shay stuff. That was just dumb.
I mean, only in LA would he get let back into the game.
Right.
No way in the world he should have been let back in the game.
And I get that people make mistakes and people get angry, but
I think he had a little some of that brown juice.
He says it was Sprite. He says it was Sprite. I don't necessarily know if I believe him, but he says it was Sprite. But we'll
you can get clear tequila.
We digress. We digress.
All right, that's Sprite. All right.
There was Sprite in it.
Yeah.
Right.
It was same person always. If it was a fan doing that, he'd been going off on it.
Oh my goodness, yeah. But I do appreciate his apology. He didn't hide from it. He owned it, so that was good. Yeah. All right, you guys got any predictions this weekend? Who's playing in the Super Bowl?
It's hard to go against the Bengals. I think the Bengals they have what it's going to take to win a Super Bowl. I know them getting there last year. They played in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
I think them getting there last year left a taste in their mouths that they wanted to get back, and they're playing at a high level right now. And so with Patrick Mahomes' injury, I don't care what they say or what he says. At some point, it's going to come up. Like unless he doesn't get hit. But I don't see Kansas City being able to beat the Bengals, even though they're playing on the road.
Yeah.
Who
would they play, Charlie?
I mean,
who they play?
Who play?
Who would they play in the Super Bowl?
Who would the Bengals play?
Who's gonna win the Eagles 49ers game?
Of course, I'd like to see Jalen Hurts in there, and they've had such a great season. That should be a very, very good football game.
Should be.
I'm still waiting for Purdy inexperience to show up.
Mm-hmm. There were times against Dallas that it did. The one when he rolled left and then completely turned his back to the defense and all that.
So
it showed a little bit. It's just Dallas.
So that's what I'm waiting for, and
that was
that's what I don't trust with the San Francisco 49ers. And they won 19-12, and Dak threw two interceptions, I think.
Yeah,
and they didn't have their best offensive game.
The one touchdown drive was a bunch of penalties on that drive.
Yeah.
San Francisco.
So I'm going with Philly just because I want to see Jalen Hurts, but I also think they have a very good team.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost the last couple games, I think, without Jalen Hurts, but since he's been back, they've been doing pretty good.
Yeah. All right, Kenji, which way you going?
I mean, my mind is like, I just can't see the Bengals beating Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs 4 straight times, but I couldn't see him beating them 3 straight times, and they did.
Right.
And so, that's the tough one. The other side is a pretty easy pick for me. Is the Eagles. It's no knock on the 49ers at all. I think top to bottom, the 49ers are the best team in the NFC. It's just going on the road with he's regardless of how he's played, he's still a third string quarterback going on the road in the NFC Championship game. And San Francisco, has he played a road game? If he has, it hasn't been against a quality opponent like the Eagles.
It's not been anybody like this,
right? And so the Eagles defense, as much as great as Jalen Hurts has been, the Eagles defense has been lights out all year.
Yeah,
and so that was an easy pick for me. The Chiefs Bengals game, I'm going with the Chiefs. I want the Bengals to win, but I'm gonna go with the Chiefs just because I just can't see them losing 4 times in a row to the Bengals.
It's hard to believe that.
It's hard to believe it. But
yeah,
a very tepid Chiefs Eagles Super Bowl.
All right.
So you think the Chiefs can win even with Mahomes' injury?
I mean, they just did. And if he gets too hurt, Chad Henne did leave a 98-yard touchdown drive.
Granted, that was off of adrenaline.
And granted, it was the Jaguars.
Yeah, that's Jaguars. Yeah,
but the Jaguars they're not bad.
They're not bad, but
they're really not. They're
not bad. They're not the Bengals, though. I think he's somehow he's going to have the Jordan flu game. He's gonna come out and do something crazy. And
I'll say this: if there is a player that can rise above his injury and be great, it is Patrick Mahomes. Those jump passes he threw this past Saturday, I was like, dude, you different.
Because he does that. He does that when he's healthy.
Right, but he's doing it off one leg. I mean, he's just different. So, but Charlie, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm leaning more toward what I saw with Joe Cool, because man, that dude.
I love Joe Burrow.
God, he's so
deep. And Jamar
Chase. The man was throwing dimes in the snow.
That's all I'm saying, Charlie. That's all I'm saying. And I'm gonna tell you something. Patrick Mahomes is the better player as far as flashiness and the wow factor, but Joe Cool is just cool. He just does all the right things. And it's just now, granted, he got all the right weapons too. Now let's be honest. He got the right weapon. So I don't know, man. That's the one that's hard. That's the one that's hard.
You gotta love his moxie though. I mean,
I love it. I absolutely
love that dude. I love that dude.
It ain't, listen, the great prophet T.I. said it ain't bragging if you can back it up. It ain't tricking if you got it. Like he got it. He got all the everything. So it's gonna be interesting to see. That one's a harder pick. I give a slight edge to Joe Cool because of the weapons. They just got so many things, and I don't know if Kansas City has enough to stop everything. Like they got to stop everything.
And also they got to factor in the Bengals offensive line is beat up and they've been suspect anyway. They held up against the Bills though.
Right.
But the offensive line is beat up.
Well, the true X factor in that game is not either quarterback. It's Chris Jones. If Chris Jones can come and be Chris Jones, they got a legit shot to win that game. But if Chris Jones can't get any pressure up the middle on Joe Cool, man, he's gonna stand back there and pick them apart. Like it's just because they don't have a great secondary. So it's all on Chris Jones' shoulders. So that one, I'm gonna give a slight edge to Cincinnati. But now the other one, man, listen. At some point, doesn't the clock have to ring midnight and Brock Purdy loses on the step, and Cinderella is over, and he go back to his real life as the third quarterback. Like at some point, doesn't this have to come? We've never seen this, bro. Like Mr. Irrelevant is in the NFC Championship. This. If this dude leads them to the Super Bowl, you can make a case. This is the biggest NFL success story of all time. Like you can make a legit case for that. You've never
Kurt Warner was bagging groceries.
Yeah, but Kurt Warner had talent though. But Kurt Warner had talent. Like you can
obviously sold his purse.
You can see that Kurt Warner. That was just a bunch of people that missed how good he was.
No. You can say the same thing about Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant. He was bagging groceries.
He was, but once he got on the roster,
and then you throw in the fact that Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time and was what 6th round pick.
He was 6th round. I don't know, man.
Let's pump the brakes on it.
No, I'm not pumping. I'm saying if this dude
it's up there, but it's not going to beat those two.
Brock Purdy should not be seeing the field. There's no logical reason why this dude should be.
Neither should the dude bagging your groceries at Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah, but he made a roster. He wasn't at the Piggly Wiggly when they found him. Like he worked his way through and made it into the roster. I don't know. I hear what you're saying. Brock Purdy is unbelievable. I can't imagine, but at some point this has to stop, though, right? Right? Surely,
we got to think about the coach, though. The coach. Schottenheimer is not. I mean, he's of course getting them to this point with the guy.
Shanahan, right.
Yeah. I said Schottenheimer.
Yeah,
Shanahan.
We got you back, Charlie. We got you back.
One of them, dad and coach's sons.
Right. One of them. Exactly right.
I mean, he's a very, very good coach. Quality coach, and he's gotten his team to this point numerous times since he's been in San Fran. Of course, the defense has been, on point this year or in the last few years. And we got to give him some credit. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we be dogging the coaches because they're not doing what they're supposed to do or whatever. But this man has taken the last pick of the draft and made him look like, he should have been drafted sooner. But that's culture. Of course, he has weapons too, but that's culture as well.
I think their path to a victory lies in their ability to keep Jalen Hurts and that offense off the field. If that 19-12 score, that's right around where it needs to be for this game as well. They got to keep them off. If they try to get in a shootout, they're gonna get the doors blown off. But if they can keep that offense off the field, they got a legit shot. Yeah. However, with all that being said, give me Philly. I think it's Philly. They got a shot, though. All right, so shout-outs. What we doing, gentlemen? First of all, a collective shout-out for all of us for the healing of Peyton Hillis. Glad to see that brother's at home, recovering. Man, that was phenomenal news. Man, that's awesome. So just shout out to Peyton Hillis and his family, and he will continue to be in our thoughts and prayers. Okay. Charlie, who you shouting out this week?
Well, our daughter Hope is heading to a Spinks conference, which is it's a orchestra music deal for not African Americans, but Latinos as well. And so she's getting an opportunity to go and be one of the representatives because she was a camper during her time in high school. So it's one of the top, musical camps or conferences or organization for African Americans and Latinos in music strings. So shout out to her for getting an opportunity to go and have that experience. Shout out to, of course, again, my basketball team. We were able to win back-to-back games here this week. Have one more game on Saturday for senior night, which we have 5 seniors.
Wow.
This year, and the guys are looking forward to representing, or those are not representing, but showcasing those seniors on their last home game, and as we continue to move forward into the district playoffs and the playoffs. So shout out to those guys for staying focused through this tough season. It's tough when you go to where we went to last year, and then it seems like it never stops. And this season seems very, very long. So when you start, and I now understand, with Golden State and all the teams that, make it to the finals or have a long run, and the next season it seems like it's longer because you never stop. You never stop. And so just for our coaches and the players to be able to get to this point. And today we have an off day because we all need a mental break and physical break. But shout out to our guys for staying the course.
And I would imagine it's even harder when you have what it takes to get back. So now you're just kind of like, we got to go through all this again just to get back to where we probably should be anyway. Like that makes it harder, you know what I mean? Because those games get longer and longer, especially against teams that aren't, I don't mean to say this disrespectfully, but teams that aren't very good. You're just like, you got to go beat them, but it's like, why don't y'all just forfeit so we can go?
Not having emergency.
Yeah, I mean, we had a team the other night. The coach came to me before the game. It's like, hey man, y'all just spar with us at least for a quarter. I'm like, come on, man. I watched the film. I know you guys got some talent, but I think they may have scored like 8 points in the first quarter. Yeah, like 16 points at the half. So
it's tough, man. It's tough. All right, kids. Who you shouting out, brother?
I got 2 shout outs. First to Charlie's favorite player, Mikasa Robinson. This last week she played in her 145th college basketball game, which is a school record.
I would think.
Tell her congratulations.
Whenever I see Mikasa, I tell her you ask about it. So
oh my goodness.
Shout out to Mikasa. U of L women struggling a little bit, but shout out to her. And then shout out to the school I'm doing a story on that's airing tonight on Sacred Heart here in Louisville. They had, before 2 years ago, they hadn't won a state championship since 2004. This year they're well on their way to a three-peat. Wow. And they've got 3 players who are already over 1,000 points scored in their careers, with the 4th one at like 800 and something. Wow. And one of those 1,000-point scorers is a sophomore.
Oh, wow.
So think about that for a second. Wow. She's a sophomore and scored 1,000 points in her career. Yeah. It's like Kaya Johnson. I've talked about her on here before. She's one of the best high school basketball players, boys or girls, I've ever seen. She's a sophomore. Arizona was at one of her games. I know she's got offers from Louisville, UConn, Syracuse, and South Carolina, and all the heavy hitters. And so they've only lost, I think they've only lost 3 games. None of them to teams in the state of Kentucky, and their average margin of victory against opponents from the state is 37.5 points. So shout out to them. Shout out their head coach, Nana Moyer, who's been there the whole time. So
amazing. Well, my shout out is a little different. I listen. I have to shout out Kendrick Haskins' Dallas Cowboys. Listen, nobody, and I mean nobody, loses in more spectacular fashion than the Dallas Cowboys.
They are the world's greatest showmen.
I got to give it up. Listen, we lost because we were completely overmatched. We weren't supposed to be there anyway. We've been smoking mirrors all season. We have no receivers, no linebackers. We've been smoking mirrors all season. So we took the L that we were supposed to take. But my God, when the Cowboys lose, they don't just lose. They lose in spectacular fashion. Shout out to Zeke Elliott, who will be always remembered as the worst center of all time. And that's okay because he's a running back. So I got to give it up. They are. I understand now why they are America's team because they are wildly entertaining.
They completely dominated their game, and
it was fantastic. Listen, I give it up, man.
Back-to-back years, embarrassing plays to end the season against San Francisco.
Embarrassing. And then also, I want to give a shout out to a weird shout out. This is a weird shout out, but it's a shout out. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith. I have the book Straight Shooter. I got to be honest with you, it's really good. It's a lot of shocking information in there, but it definitely helps you understand why he is the way he is. So it's a good book. If you're looking for a good read, or do it Audible because the Audible is him reading it. So you probably enjoy that.
I love Audible.
I love Audibles. I'm a big fan of Audibles,
especially with biographies when it's like the Will Smith one and the Kevin Hart one is hilarious. It's basically hours of Kevin Hart stand up. So exactly. I love Audibles.
So I would say grab the Audible, throw it on in the background of something you're doing. You'll enjoy it. It's a really, really solid book. So shout out to Stephen A. Smith. All right. That's it. That's all we got for you today. We'll be back again to do it all over. And, man, I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed doing it for you. With that being said, enjoy your weekend. Should be a fun weekend. You know what? On a personal note, shout out to the WWE. I enjoyed the Royal Rumble. I enjoy it. It's just fun TV. I enjoy it.
Come on, man. Is that real?
No, it's not real at all, but it's fun to watch. It's not real at all, but it's fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to watch. I defy you not to enjoy it, Charlie. I promise you. It's really, really fun to watch. So, anyway, love you guys. Appreciate you. We'll see you next week. You've been listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us